Now that a champion has been crowned of the association, all eyes shift towards a potentially momentous summer in the NBA. What happens with Kawhi Leonard out west, whose playoff run ended prematurely with what was called a knee injury and had surgery on his partially torn ACL shortly thereafter? Does he opt into his player option, which he has until August 1st to do, or does he explore free agency? Then there's the saga of Ben Simmons in Philly. 25-year-old all-star caliber players usually aren't available via trade, but considering how his postseason went, a fresh start may be exactly what he needs to rejuvenate his career. Philly has already opened up trade discussions with teams, and if there's anyone that can execute a blockbuster deal, it's Daryl Morey. There's also the constant trade chatter out of Portland with Damian Lillard. The Blazers brass hasn't shown a willingness to deal their superstar, and Lillard has never expressed his unhappiness, at least publicly, with the organization. But there are many that believe that breaking up the Lillard-CJ McCollum backcourt would be best for a team that has consistently fallen short in the postseason. As far as free agents go, there is a robust market at point guard, starting with Chris Paul, who most believe will stay in Phoenix. The two players who may move are Kyle Lowry and Mike Conley. And if anyone is looking for scoring, DeMar DeRozan could be a key addition for any contender. Will any stars be playing elsewhere next season? This NBA summer could be as unpredictable as any in recent memory.
Plenty of questions to be answered, and for that, we welcome in CBS Sports NBA insider Bill Reiter. Kawhi Leonard can become a free agent, has a $36 million player option with the Clippers, just underwent surgery to repair a partially torn ACL. Bill, could you really see Kawhi testing the market?
Well, let me start here. He is the J.D. Salinger of professional sports, and anyone who tells you they're in his brain or knows what he's about to do is full of it. That said, well, I think it's certainly possible. My best bet, Akeem, I'm with you. I think he's going to remain a Los Angeles Clipper. He's from this part of the country. He's from outside Los Angeles, California. Obviously, the guy got hurt. The Clippers are still one of the favorites to win an NBA championship. He still has massive influence in that organization. Now, there are some people around the NBA keeping their eye on the reporting that he got frustrated with the medical staff and the training staff with the Clippers. That certainly rings ominously if you think back to the days where he had that reaction with the Spurs. But most people I've talked to, and they're all guessing, and they admit they are, think it's most likely he'll be a Clipper.
All right, he stays in L.A. How about future Hall of Famer Chris Paul? Also has a player option. He's got a $44.2 million player option. Helped the Suns advance to the finals in his 16th NBA season. Bill, does CP3 retire as a Phoenix Sun?
Yeah, generational wealth right there if he opts in just for one season. I can tell you this, Akeem, there was a little bit of ambitious optimism from the Lakers if the Suns had closed the deal against the Milwaukee Bucks and won that NBA championship, made good on that 2-0 series lead. They thought there was a chance they might be able to sell Chris Paul, and really they is LeBron James, sell CP3 on the idea of less money. You got your championship. You did it as the guy. Come to L.A. That obviously didn't happen. Now Russell Westbrook and his salary is a part of that Lakers organization. It feels like, for most people I've talked to, the sense is Chris Paul probably going to stay a member of the Phoenix Suns. Whether he'd retire there or not certainly remains to be seen. But we saw it. They were on the verge of winning an NBA championship. It wasn't a fluke. They were the second-best team in the Western Conference throughout the entirety of the season. Consistently excellent. It's a young core around Chris Paul. They're going to get better. Most people I've talked to, including a few sources in that Suns organization, think he'll be a Sun next year, at least at a minimum.
All right, let's head to Philadelphia. Ben Simmons has 4 years, nearly $147 million left on his contract. Philly reportedly wants a Harden-esque return. That deal included 3 first-round picks, Bill, which to me is laughable if Philly thinks they're getting that type of return. How's this going to end?
Yeah, I'll say this in defense of Daryl Morey. He's learned this on the other side of the negotiating table, and he studied Sam Presti. All you can do, all you have to do is ask for the world and find one team that breaks, that buckles, that feels like they've got to go after Ben Simmons. And I think one of the things that's key, and this is not my thought, it's a thought that an NBA executive told me, is that fans and media sometimes look at these trade situations as what should happen, when the right way, the prism to look at it through is what GM thinks he's going to get fired and panics. So I think there will be a trade. There will be a trade, I think, for Ben Simmons at some point. I just don't think Daryl Morey's in a rush, Akeem. They made the NBA playoffs. They're the top team in the Eastern Conference. The real issue with Simmons, we know isn't the regular season, it's the postseason. And that means for Philadelphia and Daryl Morey, you can wait till that trade deadline. There's a lot of it's whoever pays the price. The fact that reportedly the Warriors got really close, they wouldn't quite pull the trigger, was too much, but were that interested, I think for me, if I go out on a limb, feels like Golden State could be a team that could revisit this. That is one of those GMs, not going to be fired, but Bob Myers under a lot of pressure, the GM in Golden State, to capitalize on the Steph Curry era. It's not going to last forever. And a lot of folks around the NBA, and I agree with them, think that Ben Simmons and all the things he does well would fit in perfectly in Golden State. And his weaknesses, the fact he can't shoot, sort of critical, would certainly be less exposed with those shooters in Golden State with the Warriors and some other places.
If you think Draymond Green was being tough on James Wiseman this past season, wait till you see Draymond Green as a teammate of Ben Simmons. If that happens, he did not attempt a field goal in the fourth quarter in games 4 through 7 of the Eastern Conference semis against Atlanta. You got to be clutch if you're going to play for the Warriors. That's a fact. Free agency tips off on Monday. The Lakers already made a monster trade, as you mentioned, acquiring Russell Westbrook. Bill, who's a name you're hearing that the Lakers are targeting in free agency?
I mean, look, they're going to nibble around the edges of some of the guys that will make less money. They need some shooting. Patty Mills, you're going to hear some of those names. A name that a couple sources floated to me, Akeem, and it's a name the Lakers are going to pursue. He would have to take less money. They don't think it's, by no stretch do they think it's a likelihood, but they think it's possible to at least have a conversation with DeMar DeRozan about coming back to LA, the Los Angeles Lakers, taking less money, settling for probably what would be half of what he can get on the open market. If he wants to be a member of the Mavs, if he wants to be a member of the Knicks, he's going to make, I don't know, $13 to $17 million a year. But there's a sense in that Lakers organization they might be able to convince DeMar DeRozan to come to Los Angeles, play with LeBron and AD, be part of a championship contender, be home. LA's not a bad place to live, especially if you got the money DeMar DeRozan would have. So that's not a guarantee by any stretch. He's worth more in the open market than the Lakers can pay. But I can tell you, Lakers sources have told me they think it's at least in the realm of possibilities, and that's something they want to explore.
We just talked about the Warriors as we stay in the West and a potential spot for Ben Simmons. They're going to be getting Klay Thompson at some point back from injury next season. They're in win-now mode. Who's the Warriors' top target in free agency?
Yeah, I think for them, the top target is actually a guy that's not technically a free agent yet, but several people I've talked to think it's possible that Kevin Love will be bought out by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Doesn't make sense for them to keep him around. They're going with a young core, and they need Kobe Altman, the GM of that organization, needs to see those guys and have those guys play. And we all know the relationship with Love and the Cavs soured from the moment he basically didn't want to compete and perform in that regular season game. And I think you've seen some of the smoke that shows there's some fire. Kevin Love and Draymond Green having this man crush exchange at the Olympics as that's going on. So I keep an eye on Kevin Love. The Warriors are going to be aggressive. They might be aggressive in trades too. But if Kevin Love gets bought out, I'm told the Warriors are extremely interested because obviously they get him for pennies on the dollar. It'll be the Cavs who eat a lot. Your Cavs, Akeem, who will eat a lot of that money, and the Warriors could roll him in for a lot less than what he's worth.
Yeah, they'll never forget Kevin Love's defense on Steph Curry and how he locked him up in that Game 7. Warriors fans won't forget it. I won't forget it. It was critical. But seriously, though, I mean, it was critical, right? If Kevin Love doesn't play that great a defense, they don't win. They don't win. It's 2016, but I'm still living in the past. I mean, that's what a lot of guys like us do. We live in the past sometimes. Let's look and live in the future right now.
I get it.
Yeah, let's live in the future and look towards the future. What's the move you'd most like to see in free agency?
Yeah, the move that I'd like to see is for Neil O'Shea, the GM of the Portland Trail Blazers, to just be bold, if not for his organization, with his own job, and to move C.J. McCollum. I think McCollum's a great player. Obviously, the guy can score the basketball. He would be a perfect fit, I think, in Philadelphia. And Damian Lillard sounds like he's going to at least allow himself to be a member of that Portland team when the season begins, see what they can do. That is a challenge. That is a hope. That is extending a little bit of an olive branch to that organization on Lillard's part, saying, go get me the right supporting cast. McCollum and he just don't fit together. I think Ben Simmons would be a great piece. I know, Keem, I know that Ben Simmons didn't take any shots in the fourth quarter. That's fine. Dame will do that. If Simmons can play the kind of defense he's capable of, get a little bit better offensively, he's certainly capable of being a hugely impactful player. I think that would be a nice fit. You'd have to include more than just C.J. McCollum to get Ben Simmons, but I don't think it's 4 first-round draft picks. It's a deal that could get done, and I'd love to see Portland be bold enough, and it's a risk, to go get someone that might convince Damian Lillard to stick around.
We shall see. Again, free agency tips off Monday night, 6 Eastern. Bill Reiter setting us up for free agency here on CBS Sports HQ. Bill, thank you.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.